Hello.
Hello.
Happy birthday, Stacy.
Thank you for your good wishes.
Of course.
Thank you for your birthday wishes.
What was that, Stacy?
I said thank you for your wishes.
Of course.
Hello.
Hi, Mario.
Hi.
Mario, how's Neil Armstrong?
Who? Oh,
How's Neil Armstrong?
he went behind the tree.
Yeah. Oh, he had to go fish. Yeah.
Oh, he's having some cheese. That's what the holes are
Yeah.
there.
I hope you're not sleeping.
Eh?
I hope you're not sleeping. Hi, Bernie. Hi, Bernie.
Hello. Good evening, everybody.
Hi, Bernie.
What's wrong with the sound?
That sounds strange. Who was that? Oh, we have a new guest.
Mario, how are you?
Good, David. How are you? Did this do or you slept?
Meslepsech. What?
You're here?
Right now, this week I'm here.
Okay, all right.
Next Sunday on an airplane.
Okay.
Harold, what's going on? You're on mute.
Too much is going on.
Yeah. We'll have to talk tomorrow.
Yeah.
What's that noise?
Where's Tammy? Bernie, where's Tammy?
She's in the other room listening from relaxing while she's listening to this year. Bit exhausted.
I'm sure. Long day.
Where is Ernie?
David, why don't you start?
What?
Go ahead and start. Ernie will catch
Okay.
up.
Where are you?
The beginning.
Daniel 1.
Unfang. Fangen from Unfang.
Okay, let me first Google the perek.
Where's Ernie?
David's joined.
Aha, David's yeah.
Yeah. I heard Daniel, Daniel is a lot of nevuas,
Yeah.
cat.
Yeah.
You want
Maybe
me
we
to find
together
out the
will
secrets,
figure out.
right?
Ernie says he's not a novice.
What?
All right.
He's not.
Yeah, there's some kind of echo.
Did anyone watch the 60 Minutes thing?
Yeah,
I
I
was
think it
watching
was
it.
good for Israel.
I don't know. I thought it was very anti-Israel. I don't know. Anyway.
No, I don't think it was.
But she started, yeah, but she started off. Israel broke the ceasefire. Israel killed 50,000 Palestinians. I don't know.
But she didn't. I think by the end of the day, it was very good for Israel. This,
I hope so. I don't know.
I think so.
It's horrible either way.
Yeah. Listen, they're right. Bibi doesn't want ceasefire.
But by doing this, you're weakening, you're empowering Hamas, man. Or do you think if you stop the war, they're going to release them? I don't think so. I don't know.
No, if they will give in to what they want, yes. But who wants to give in?
That's the problem. Oh, yeah.
Not simple.
No, never.
Hashem Yishmor.
Absolutely.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. We started an introduction last week to Sefer Daniel. Today,
Well, somebody's got to turn off the phone.
somebody
The
to mute.
Gotta
their-
mute everybody,
Everybody should
gotta
be on
mute.
mute, and that's it.
Right, everybody be on mute, but of course, go off of mute if you want to contribute something.
Who the heck's on mute?
Barbara?
Yes, is it me?
You need
Yeah,
to
mute.
I'm trying to find,
on the computer, there should be a place that mute.
I'm on the phone, I'm not, let me, is it me? I'm trying to-
Also, you're not muted yet.
Back again. Okay, I'm gonna go out, come back. I don't- Okay, I'm leave, how do I,
Okay. No.
I'm trying. Background.
On the top of the Zoom, if you just click in in your,
Usually, I'm gonna, I can't even leave. I don't know what happened. Oh, I'm so sorry. Am I the only one? Am I the culprit? Okay, let me,
not sure.
I'm gonna leave. I'll come back.
Anyone watch the 60 Minutes?
Or it's not Leslie, it's not Barbara, there's. Ah, there's-
I don't know.
Tammy, Bernie, is Tammy near you?
Her phone is on mute.
Okay, that's better. Okay.
Hi, say hello.
Hello, everybody. So, does someone have Barbara's phone number? Okay. Hopefully she will call back. So,
Maybe give a summary.
Pasuk Aleph, Sefer Daniel. We talked last week that we discussed the difference between Nevi'im and Ksuvim. We discussed whether Daniel is a Navi or not. We had different opinions regarding that. And today I sent out on WhatsApp a number of chronologies because we will, hi Barbara, it was not you, so you're okay. Be a chronology so we know exactly where Daniel fits in. Bishnat Shalosh leMalchut Yehoyakim Melech Yehuda. In the third year of the reign of Yehoyakim Melech Yehuda, Ba Nebuchadnezzar Melech Bavel Yerushalayim Vayotzer Aleha. Came Nebuchadnezzar to lay siege in Yerushalayim. Right away, Rashi and all the Meforshim, the Ibn Ezra, the Ralbag, the Pirush Harid, the Rav Sadia Gaon, notice that that's a mistake. Says Rashi, V'chiev Shalomer came, V'halohu Malach Bishnas Arba Lemalchus Yehoyakim. So if you remember, Yoshiyahu HaMelech had three sons, Yehoyachaz, Yehoyakim, who was the oldest, and Tzidkiyahu. And after Yoshiyahu HaMelech's death, the people put Yehoyachaz as the king, but only for 3 months. And then Yehoyakim came into power. And Yehoyakim ruled for 11 years. And afterwards, his son Yechoniah, the nephew of Tzidkiyahu, ruled also for just 3 months. And then Tzidkiyahu HaMelech is placed king. That's the chronology. And then he also rules for 11 years. We should remember the word shlach. Shlach b'gematria is 338. The Korban takes place 3,338. That's the year to remember. So 22 years before, which was 3,316, that's when Yehoyakim first rules, right? Because it's 11 plus 11, which is 22, right? 16 plus 22 brings us to 38. So really, Yehoyakim was king already in the 4th year. That was the first year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign. Shenemar, it says in Yirmiyahu Chafei, Bashana Revi'it Yehoyakim ben Yoshiyahu Melech Yehuda, Hi hashana rishona leVuchadnezzar melech Bavel. So we can't say like this pasuk says, in the third year of Yehoiakim's reign, Nebuchadnezzar came, because Nebuchadnezzar only became king in the fourth year of Yehoiakim's reign. So Umat Talmud Lomer Bishnat Shalosh, says Rashi Bishnat Shalosh Lemerdo, the third year of his revolt. Shenema, Vayhilo Yehoiakim Eved Shalosh Shanim Vayashav Yimrod Bo, that Yehoiakim eventually rebelled against Yehoiakim for 3 years, and in the third year of the rebellion, which was V'hishnat Shmona Levuchadnezzar, which was the 8th year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign, the Omar Mar, we have a Gemara in Megillah Yud Aleph, Amud Beis, which gives us year by year Nebuchadnezzar's activity. Shana Rishona Kibesh Ninveh. The biggest city in this region was Nineveh, and in the first year of his reign, he conquered it. Shniya Allah v'kibesh Yehoiakim. In the second year of his reign, which was the 5th year of Yehoiakim, he conquered Yehoiakim, but left him in place. And v'shalosh shanim avdo. And from year 5 to year 8, Yehoiakim served as a vassal king to Nebuchadnezzar. However, in the 8th year of Yehoiakim's reign, Shalosh Shani Marabo, he rebelled. So in the 11th year of, which is the 3 years after his rebellion, so it was 5 years before he rebelled, before he had conquered it. And then V'shalosh Avdon, the 3 that Yehoiakim served Nebuchadnezzar, V'shalosh Marabo, V'az meis Yehoiakim tachas yado, V'himlich Nebuchadnezzar tachtav Yehoiachin beno. And on the death of Yehoiakim, in his 11th year of his reign, Yehoiachim, his son, was made king. The Perush Ari goes through the same thing. The Malbim brings the same thing. The Malbim wants to say that some of the calculation has to do with the Jewish kings have their reign changed in Nisan, not in Tishrei. That's sometimes the difference between the 3rd and the 4th year reign, but Rashi follows the Gemara's explanation. So what happened? Pasuk Beis. Vayitein Adu Shem biado es Yehoiakim melech Yehuda. Hashem gave to Nebuchadnezzar, into Nebuchadnezzar's hand, Yehoiakim, the king of Judea. Umiktzas klei beis Elokim, and Nebuchadnezzar also took, because they took Yehoiakim prisoner, and he died on the route. That's what we learned in Malachim. He also took some of the kelim of the Beis Hamikdash. This is 11 years before the final Churban of Tzidkiyahu. Vayiviem Eretz Shinar Beit Elohav. He brings these kelim to his place of idol worship. Vesa kelim evi beis otzar lohav. Look at Rashi. Umiktsas klei beis Elohim lakach. Umiktsasam nisharu. Some of the kelim were left. Kimo shenemar b'Yirmiyah. Ko amar Hashem el amudim ve'alayam ve'alamechonot. For example, the yam was the kior, where they washed. Ve'alamachonos was a like a thing that they, like a machine that they lowered the kior into the spring below. Ve'al yeter ha'kelim hanotarim be'ir hazot asher lo lacha Nebuchadnezzar. So some of the kelim were left behind. Says the Midrash Daniel miktzosam v'lo kulam she'adayin lo holichotam leBavel b'mei Yehoiakim. Not all of them were taken at that time. The remainder of the kelim were taken when Nebuchadnezzar took Yechoniah, Yehoiakim's son, 3 months after his reign, as prisoner to Bavel. He took Kalim, and then 11 years later, when Nebuzaradan, the general of Nebuchadnezzar, comes back and destroys and burns down the Beis Hamikdash and takes Tzidkiyahu, they take the remaining Kalim. Says Vayiviyem Eretz Shinar, Loma Yisrael Shayum and Yoyakim Vakelim, the Jews that came with Yoyakim and the Kalim, Ki Yoyakim Kvar Meit Eretz Yisrael Karvlu Shalayim, V'lo Nigbar. You remember the pasuk says Kfurat Chamor Sachov Ashlech. Yoyakim was never buried. He died on the road and was buried. Didn't really get burial. The Omar v'nivlaso tiemushleches. The kol ze irash loal shasarvas amgila bezodim biyad Rama. The kinos that Yirmiyahu Navi wrote, Yoyakim burned, and this was a punishment to Yoyakim. What does it mean in the pasuk Beis Elokav, Beis Eloham Melamed Sholich kol hashivya le'artzo ve'viotam Beit Elohav derech kilus voda lepislo. He brought the people and the Kalim to his Beis Avodah Zarah. Kimo sha'asu plishtim ba'aron. Just like when the plishtim, after the Mishkan stood for 369 years, the plishtim conquered it, killed Eli HaKohen dies there, and they take the Aron prisoner. Vayikhu plishtim es Aron Hashem. So the same thing Nebuchadnezzar does with the Kalim, he brings it to his Beis Avodah Zarah. What's the word Shinar? Masechta Shabbos, Kuf Yud Gimel Amud Beis, Eretz Shesham Ninaru Meisei Bavel. The Gemara says that all the corpses of all the people who died in the Mabul gathered in Bavel, because it was the lowest place. So Ninaru means gathered. So the word Shinar comes from that. Next pasuk. Vayomer lamelech leAshpenaz Rav Sarisav. Nebuchadnezzar tells his chief Saris. We will discuss in a minute what Saris means. La'avim ibnei Yisrael u'mizer mlucha min apartamim. He commands Ashpenaz at this time, which is when Yoyakim, when he brought all these Kalim in the 11th year, he wants to bring some Jews from Judea, some of them who come from the Zerah of Beis David, and from officers. Rashi says apartamim means duchasin, important people. Now, a Saris normally means someone who was castrated, a eunuch. These kings had harems with many wives. So who was going to be in charge of these wives? It had to be somebody who he could trust. He could only trust somebody who was castrated. That's one use of the word Saris. But the word Saris also means high officer, someone who serves. So the Ibn Ezra points out that Daniel is going to be one of the Zerah B'nai Yisrael and Mizera Melucha that are brought. And says the Ibn Ezra, we will never see Daniel called a Saris. It says on them, Yiladim asher ein behem kol mum. The children that were brought to Nebuchadnezzar had no blemish. Says the Ibn Ezra, ve'ein mum kosher min asarisus. There's no greater mum than being castrated. Daniel v'chaverov were commanded Lalamdam Sefer. They're going to be the educated officers in the court of Nebuchadnezzar. He wants to teach them Michtav Kazdim Loshonam, how to write and how to speak Aramaic. Rak sheyamdu lifnei hamelech. The psukim are going to say they're going to stand in v'lo lifnei noshav, and it's not they're going to have anything to do with the women. So the Ibn Ezra is trying to argue here that when chas v'sholom that we're talking about, Daniel was mesuras, was actually physically castrated. Rather, they were misharsim. Says the Malbim, what did he want these kids for? He wanted to give them tasks. Those that were from the Jewish nobility will serve as people who stand in front of the king. If they were officers in Malchei Yehuda, Yamdu Liosarim. He has to teach them the manners of the Kazdim, their language. So that, what about the other people, the Bnei Yisrael? The rest of the Jewish people will serve in other roles. It says, the Malbim, Nebuchadnezzar haya chacham v'navon. He himself was very wise. We will see later on, it says, V'chol dvar chachmat bina asher bikesh mehem hamelech. The king would ask intellectual questions. Shu atzmo haya menaseh et hachachamim. He would debate and dialogue with his wise people. V'hayu lo chachamim b'malchuto b'chol hamtinot. Lihitnaeg al pi atzatam. He had advisors. V'nodalo mechachmat haYehudim. He had heard that the Jewish people were wise. Shayu chachamim bioter b'nei hashchina v'anavua shaya b'neihem. Lachein tziva lavi yeladim and haYehudim leman yeh lo chachmatam le'einayim. He commanded that these Jewish children be brought to add to his kingdom. Pasuk Dal. Yiladim asher ein bahem kol me'um. We need children that have no blemish. The Gemara in Sanhedrin, we just learned in the Daf Yomi Tzadik Gimel Amud Beis, afilu sirta shel hakozos dam. When you go for blood, when you go have a blood drawn, you have a little puncture wound where the needle went into the vein. They weren't allowed to have even a blemish like that. V'tovei mareh, they had to be handsome. Umaskilim b'chol chachma, wise with wisdom. V'yodei dat, we'll see the difference between chachma and das. Umevinei mada, they should understand science, let's say. V'asher koach b'hem lamod b'eichel hamelech, they need to withstand, to be able to stand long periods of time in the palace of the king. L'lamdam sefer, to teach them how to read, u'loshen kazdim, and how to speak. Rashi, let's first start with Rashi. Pershu Rabbeinu, shayu oinsin atzman, they would hold themselves back minaschot, from laughing, u'minasicha, from talking, u'minashena, from sleep, mibnei emas malchus, v'shemamidin atzman kinitzrochin l'nikveim. They had to be able to stand in the palace, and even if they had to go to the bathroom, they had to hold it back. So they had to train themselves. Says the Balaturim, on the pasuk of Yiladim asher ein bahem mum, It says, Vayhiya makriv bayom harishon et korbano Nachshon ben Aminadav l'mateh Yehuda. Today was Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Today was the day that Nachshon ben Aminadav brought the korban anisim. The pasuk says, "Korbano karat kesef achat." The korbano karat kesef achat. The Balaturim there says Vav Yisera. Why didn't it? If you look in all the 12 of the Nisim, take a look. The next pasuk usually starts Korbano karas kesef achat. His korban was this and this and this. By Nachshon ben Aminadav, it says ve korbano. What's this extra vav? Says the Balaturim. Al shem shisha banim sheyatsu mimenu. Nachshon had 6 sons. Shekulam nizbarchu b'sheish brachos. And they were all given 6 blessings. Shisha banim yatsu minachshon balei sheish brachos. 6 sons came out of Nachshon that were blessed with 6 things. Ve'eluhein, David HaMelech, Moshiach, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Vazariah. Hananiah, Mishael, Vazariah, we're going to learn, were the 3 boys from, we'll see, they were from different Shvatim, who were thrown into the furnace of fire because they didn't bow down to the Tzelem, the Nebuchadnezzar. We're going to learn that in detail. And they were saved. So where are the brachos here? David, Dichsiv, it says in Shmuel Aleph, Tet Zayin, a pasuk we learned, Yodea Nagain, he knew how to play a musical instrument. V'Gibor Chayil, he was a warrior. Gibor Chayil, he was strong. Ish Milchama, he knew war. Unavon Davar, he had Bina. Ish Toar, he was handsome. V'Hashem Imo. The Balaturim says, Yodea Nagin, Sheyodea Lishol, he knew how to ask good kashas in yeshiva. Gibor Chayil, Yodea Lahashiv, he knew how to answer well. Ish Melchama, Yodea Lisa V'Litein B'Melchamta Shel Torah, he knew how to debate with the Chachamim. Unavon Davar means Mevin Davar Mitoch Davar. You understand one thing, and from that thing you know another thing. Ish Toar, Shemare Ponim B'Halacha. You're able to paskin halacha, and not just that. V'Hashem imo shehalacha kamosa b'chol makom. Many people can paskin halacha. The question is, does the halacha follow you? Many times we have machlokas in the Gemara. The halacha is like Rabbi Akiva. So it's a special zchus to not only derive halacha, but to derive halacha that the psak is going to be like you. So these are the 6 brachos that were by David HaMelech.
Ernie, were you saying they're all descendants of Nachshon ben Aminadav?
Absolutely.
But you just said that Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah didn't come from the tribe of Yehuda.
So we're going to see. There's a machlokas. We will get there tonight. There's a machlokas. Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, were they just from Yehuda, or were they from other Shvatim? There's no question that Daniel is from not only Yehuda, but he's from Malchus Beis David. And we'll see the debate who it is. Some say Daniel was one of the sons of Yechaniah, but others said we don't know, but he was Malchus Beis David. And there is an opinion, this Gemara obviously holds that Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah were from Yehuda, because they're all from Nachshon. We'll see another source. Let's go on Mashiach, the Chsiv Bey. The Haftorah that we lane on Shmini Shel Pesach in Chutz Laretz, they don't lane it in Eretz Yisrael. We only lane it in Chutz Laretz, is Or Hayom B'Nov Lamod, which is the parsha that talks about Mashiach. And it says one of the attributes of Mashiach is V'nacha alav Ruach Hashem, Ruach Chochma Uvina, Ruach Eitza Ugvura, Ruach Das V'Yiras Hashem. So these are 6 attributes that Mashiach will have. Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, Dichsiv Buhu, Yiladim Asherim B'hem Kol Mum, Tovei Mare, Maskilim B'chol Chochma, Yodei Das, Mevinei Mada, Vasher koch be'am lamod be'echel hamelech, 6 brachas. Now, those of you who were with me in the Daf Yomi a couple of days ago, you remember we learned a similar Gemara, but it's not like what the Balaturim brings. The Gemara is in Sanhedrin also. Tell you where. Sanhedrin Sadi Gimel Omid Beis. Omrav Tarchan Darish Bar Kappa B'tzipor. My dichsiv Sheish HaSorim HaEle Nosanli. When Rus goes to pick grain in the field of Boaz, Boaz gives her Sheish So'orim, 6 pieces of barley. My Sheish HaSo'orim asks the Gemara. Ilema Sheish Garinim Shel So'orim Mamish. You talking about Boaz gave Ruth 6 barley seeds? The Chidarko Shel Boaz Litein Matona Sheish So'orim. Boaz is the God of Lador. He's going to give her six little grains. Ela Sheish Te'in Shel So'orim. 6 bushels. Frank the Gemara Chidarko Shalish Lito Lisa Mosri Kavet Shel Sei So'im. 6 bushels is a great weight. Can a woman carry that? Rather, the Gemara says this is all a remez. El remez ramazla. She'atidin shisha bonim lotzeis mimena. She'nizbarchin b'sheish brachos. Ve'eluein David Mashiach Daniel Chanami Shavazar. And the Gemara goes through the whole thing. Now, the Gemara gives us a little bit more detail about the brachos given to Daniel Hanan Mishav Azariah. Asher ein be'em kol mum, right? He goes to that. So, my asher ein be'em kol mum. On Rav Chama Rav Chanina afilu keriv da srita ktana de kuslisa shel akli shemazikim bodam la'avabu. They didn't even have a scar from a bloodletting. My vasher koch be'en lamod be'echel hamelech. Melamed shayu oinsin esatzmon. Like we learned, that they held themselves back from laughing, from talking, and they were able to stand long periods of time without going to the bathroom. The Malbim gives us a little more detail. Remember, the Malbim lived in the 1800s. So he's a little bit more scientific. So he says, if they naim the Tovrei, is koilel yoifi atzeva lo lovan beyoiser, not too white, because that's a sign Simmons atzlos. They're lazy. They're not working outside. Lo shochor, not too dark. Rak admoni lavan. Then he says like this: Yesh hevdel ben chochma uvein das. There's a difference between chochma and das. Shedas hem dvorim amusagim bechushim. These are things in the world that we sense with our senses. We see things, we hear things. O ayedei muskalos rishonos, or first principles. She'efshar bahem yidiyah brura. You can have clear knowledge. Says the Malbim, kimo chochmas hateva, scientific knowledge. Vehahandasa, engineering, which already existed at the time of the Malbim. Varufua. So that's das. Chochma, he bahanaga ben tov lara. The Malbim says chochma is morality, is ethics. Shehem dvorim shelo yishru b'mofsei das. That's something to do with how much knowledge you have. Shelo matzanu b'shum makom sheyamer binu chochma. Aval yuzku al yedei haseichel shukoch chad over b'dvorim shehem l'malam min habina v'adas. He says this is a higher level of knowledge, ethical knowledge. Then he says, those of you who have the Malbim can follow along. Yesh hevdel bein das uvein mada. Dvorim pratiim, details, shemasikin al yedei achushim, that we get through our senses. V'abchina nikrin das. But klal hamad asher is kapso al yedei yodim shonim, the principles of science that have been gathered But he lashita klolis, and therefore they develop a theory, like Newton. V'limud orech b'chol minei hayidiyot. Lemashal limudim shel chochmas hateva or refuah bichlala, kemo shehi aruka b'kol u'shmura. Keshita miyuchedes muskemes min hachachamim nikra mada. If knowledge has developed a theory to explain all the details, that's science. Mi shecholim lotzi miklalei hamada davar mitoch davar. Then you can assess one thing from another, lakish davar l'davar, nikri'im mevinei mada. The Metzudas David gives a little different pshat. Mevinei mada, he says, shiyutzachim b'lashon hatam b'meitav hadibur. He relates that to language skills. The Ibn Ezra also says, Yodea das, sheyadu b'tchilas hadibur hamedaber mashiyu b'daito l'daber b'achlona. He says das is when you hear a person begin a sentence, you know from the beginning of the sentence what he's going to say at the end. That's Yodea das. Ki yesh chachamim rabim lo yadu ze ad sof davar medaber. They won't understand from the beginning of a sentence. They got to hear the whole sentence. Umevine mada, says the Ibn Ezra, sheyuchlu lavin lacherim mashiyesh bilibam uv'mada'am. They can teach well what's in their heart. The Malbim says Ulamdam Sefer is Sefer Lashon Kazdim. Hayay Etzlam Lashon Arami Shei Lashon Amon. So the Aramaic was known by the regular people, but Lashon Kazdim Hayay Lashon HaChachamim had Midabrim Dibur B'Chochma. The intelligentsia spoke Kazdian, and this is what they wanted to teach Daniel and the other boys. The Ibn Ezra on this pasuk says, Daniel Yatza ben Chamesh Esrei Shana, Belechet Yoyakim leBavel. When Yoyakim in his 11th year was taken to Bavel, that's when Daniel was brought. Then it says, Ushmonish, so he was 15, then he lived through the 8 more years of the reign of the Nebuchadnezzar. That's another 8 years, 23. Because he was the 11 years of Tzidkiyahu brings him to 34, right? V'shivim shana v'hino zakin me'od b'mei Esther. He's got to be at least 70 years old at the time of Esther, which is going to be 30 years from now. Says the Ibn Ezra, like Kvarmeit v'lo Allah el Bayit Sheni. It could be that he didn't go to Bayit Sheni, but we're going to see most of the opinions was he lived to Bayit Sheni, so he lived to almost 100 years old. We'll go into that a little bit more in detail in a later pasuk. Pasuk Hey. Vayimad lahem hamelech dvar yom biyomo. Nebuchadnezzar had to arrange to feed Daniel, Hanan, Mishael, Azariah. So the word Vayiman means he organized food. Rashi, Lashon Azmana. So now we understand the Bnei Yisrael, when they lived in the desert 40 years, what did they eat? They eat man. So it has to do with supply and food. So Vayiman l'mamelech dvar yom b'yomo mipat bag hamelech. This was a certain Kazdian bread. Umiyayin mishtav. And from wine. Ulegadlan shanim shalosh. To raise them at least 3 years. Umikzatam yamdu lifnei hamelech. After the 3 years, some of them would be appointed to stand in front of the king. Um, Rashi says, Hushem Michael, that's Patbag, Shem Michael Melech B'Loshen Kazdim. V'yesh potrim Patbag Lechem. But Ve'niro came. He doesn't, because it says, Vayia Meltzar Noseh Patbagam V'natelem Zaronim, gave him seeds. The ain't Zaronim Chalifei Lechem, it's like legumes, beans. El Chalifei Tafshil is a type of food, a type of cooked food. So, Posuk Vav. Vayhi bahem ibnei Yehuda. Who were the Bnei Yehuda that were brought? Of them, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah. Says the Midrash Daniel, Yichad HaKosuv Elu Arba, Mishar Iladim, Vizkirotam Bishmotam, Lefi Shayu Agdolim Shabam V'chashuvim. They were the most important ones. Vishayu Mishevet Yehuda Mizar Melucha. Yesh Omrim Shayu Mibnei Banav Shel Chizkiyahu. Some say that they were the product of Chizkiyahu HaMelech. L'kayim Hashanemar, Yeshayahu Hanavi, in Perek Lamed Teled of Yeshaya, gave a prophecy to Chizkiyahu HaMelech, Umi banecha asher yetzu mimcha, yiyu sarisim be'echal melech Bavel. Will become sarisim, either like we learned, eunuchs or officers in the palace of the king. Yeshomrim, Daniel hu ben Yochanan ben Yoshio, that he was a grandson of Yeshua Melech. Rabbi Elazar, kulam ibnei Yehuda heim. Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani Omer Daniel mi Yehuda, Bernie, Hananiah mishav Azariah mishar Shvatim. So the majority of the opinion is they all came from Yehuda. But Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani said that Hananiah mishav Azariah didn't necessarily come from Yehuda. They came from other tribes. Pasuk Zayin. Vayasem lahem Sara Sarisim Shemos. They were given names, Kasdian names. Vayasem le Daniel Belshazzar. Daniel's name in Kasdian was Belshazzar. V'lechananiah's name was Shadrach. Ula Mishael Meshach. Ula Azariah Aved-Nego. Those were the names given. Who is the Shara? Rashi says, who's the Sar Sarisim? Shahaya Saral Mishar Semelech. He was the head of these servants. Now, why Belshazzar? Al Shem Avodazar Shel Bavel. It was the Avodazar of Bavel, Shakruya Baal. Shenemar, Di Shma Belshazzar, Kishum Elohi. The Nebuchadnezzar later on in Perek Dalet says, your name is Belshazzar, the name of my idol. Belshazzar Shem Lashon Chochma B'Loshen Arami. In Aramaic, it has the connotation of a wise man. Now, the Rabbeinu Sadia Gaon says Hananiah is Chonenka. Hashem has Chain with him. Shadrach is Sarach, a Rach Mefunak, somebody who's very sensitive. Mishael, Shesha'altua Imo Me'el. Mishael was given the name by her mother because his mother asked Hashem for him. Meshach is Mishra Miyad Meshakech Kaso. Whoever sees him immediately loses his anger. V'yesh oimrim Moshach Eitzel Chachmaso. He was pulled to his wisdom. The word Azariah is Azar Klab, but Eved Nego, base Mitchalet Begimel, Kloimer Eved Lavodazarahu, was also a name of Avodazar. The Malbim says that they needed to stay in the palace for 3 years. Shezem Maspik Lilamdam. K'mor she'amru Chazal in Chulin Chavdalid. Kol Talmid she'ein roa simin bracha b'mishnaso sholosh shanim ein roa simin bracha lo'olam. A Talmid in yeshiva who's not matzliach in his learning for 3 years is never going to be matzliach. V'haya kol ha'achana azot, says the Malbim, this preparation was kidei shemiktzas min hayadim ve'im elu sheyatzlichu b'limudam. We want at least some of them to be successful in their studies. Okay.
Ernie,
Yes.
we learned from Rashi that he says there that it's 5 years. I know Siman Brocha. I don't know where he got 3 years from, because it says by the Levim that they started when they were 25, and then they finished learning what the Melacha when they're 30, and therefore that's what Rashi says. Siman Brocha, but imodam.
Where do you see Rashi? Where do you see Rashi?
No, I'm saying from the Rashi in the Torah, when it talks about the Avodat Levim, it talks about 5 years.
So it says like this. This is in the Medrash Daniel. It says mi ben chamesh v'esrim shana. So some of the Levim started when they were 25.
Right.
Then uksiv mi ben shloishim shana. The Fosulem Chamesh Shanim L'Talmud.
Right.
They were given 5 years.
You're right.
But they say that work was more difficult because it's the avoida, etc. Lakein tzrichim l'islamid b'avodas hamidash chamesh shanim. Ilu kvar yu maskilim b'kol chachma. They already had like a head start. So in the base of Mikdash it was 5 years. But I read you a Gemara in Chulin. Chulin says kol talmid she'ein roa simin bracha b'mishnaso sholosh shanim. So all the yeshivas, the thousands of yeshiva students, if we need a certain percentage who are matzlich in their studies, but after 3 years, that's it.
I don't think that it's connected to what you are saying, or Walter. He wanted to see, he picked up children that he believes that they have a huge potential to be stars.
Yes.
So to decide if they are going to be stars, he decided after 3 years, not Siman Brocha, or he was looking for the best, like Hitler. He wanted to see if he can, by picking up the right kids, if we'll have geniuses. And David, it's enough 3 years. It's not an Indian of Brocha or so on.
No, but David, I think what Chazal there means, you can tell right away in 3 years that can he learn, can he not learn? Meaning, why didn't Nebuchadnezzar have them stay 5 years?
It doesn't. It says 3 years, no?
Right. So that's I think why the Malbim brings this Gemara, because after 3 years, Tachlis, can he be a good student or not be a good student?
Okay.
That's where why the Malbim brought that. The Siman Broch is a different issue. Okay. Pasuk Ches. And this is really amazing. Vayosim Daniel alibo, asher lo yitka'al b'pag hamelech u'v'yayin mishtar. Daniel decided, the Rav Sadia Gaon said he would learn Kriya Shema b'kavanas alev, and that's what it means, Vayosim Daniel alibo, that he did not want to trafe himself up, the Meichel of the Mishta Shel Goyim. This is the Mego'al, Mego'alu Badam. It's Mego'al, it's disgusting for him. Vayvakesh misara sarisim asher lo yitka'al. And he made a request that, and we'll see what request he made. I don't want to eat this food. I want to eat other food. And Daniel didn't just do this for himself. He lays down for all of the Jews that are in Bavel the same concepts. And we're going to see that from this comes all the gzeros of Pasakum and Yayin Nesech, begins from Daniel. Now, it's an amazing thing here. This is the first time that Jews are going into exile. And Daniel is like, we're going to compare Daniel many times to Yehuda. Because what does it say, Yaakov? Yaakov Sholach Yehuda Goshna. Yehuda is sent to Goshen to establish a yeshiva. And as the 70 people come, and eventually becomes 600,000 in Goshen. Yehuda has laid the groundwork for that Golus, that they should lo shinu es malbusham, lo shinu es shmam. We know that Klal Yisrael sunk to the 49th level of Tumah in Egypt. And if they would have stayed one more minute, they wouldn't have been redeemed. But they had all these other good things because Yehuda laid the groundwork. And here we see Daniel is not just laying the groundwork for what's going on in Bavel, but the exile to Bavel is a template for all the future exiles of Persia and of Greece and of Rome. And look at the first person that comes down to Bavel. Daniel lays this groundwork. Very important.
But where do you see that it involved that he tried to do this for all the Jews who were taken into?
I'm going to bring you some Meforshim that say so. That it wasn't just for himself, it was the people followed him. So first of all, it says in Masechta Avodah Zarah, Shemen shalod dekechavim, Rav Omar Daniel Gozer alav, she'osr b'achila. So Rav says that Daniel made the Gzeira, and it wasn't just for him, it was for everybody. Ushmuel Omar, v'lifton plitas tameim shel kelim asur, that a treif flavor that was absorbed in a kli, and now you cook kosher food and with heat, the treif flavor comes into the food and it's osir, right? Meblias macholas asurim shashem emunach b'hen osartam. That's what Shmuel says that Daniel did. And you notice it says both yayin and mishtav. So Rav says, Bishtei mishtos kosim medaber, echad mishtei yayin, the echad mishtei shemen. He assered both their wine and their oil. Because Rav savar shekavanat pasuk alibo sham sheken roy lasos machma kach lechol Yisrael hoyra. But Shmuel savar rak alibo sham dahainu shehechmir b'zela atzmo. So Rav holds that the Gzeira was not just on him, but all of Klal Yisrael. Shmuel's different. Shmuel says he made it shalibo alibo for himself only, and not for Klal Yisrael.
Ernie, chronologically, when did Shmuel live? He lived in the time of Daniel?
No. Rav and Shmuel.
The Tanaim. Okay, sorry.
We're talking about Rav and Shmuel in the year 300.
Okay.
When they want a source, they want to ground the source of these Gzeiras all the way back to Daniel. But Shmuel isn't accepting it. Shmuel says it was a Midas Chasidus for Daniel alone. And Rav says this began the Gzeira for Gans Klal Yisrael. And by the way, later on, they were Goyzer only on Yayin of Goyim, but not on Shemen of Goyim. And that's part of this approach. The Malbim. Daniel Chashav ki yichedo to lavodas elilim. Daniel is not stupid. He's 15 years old. He's there until he's 18. He's thinking, what am I doing here? He thinks that they're being prepared to work in the base of Avodah Zarah. The Yirtze Lavirol Dat. And Nebuchadnezzar's whole purpose is to convert him away from Judaism. V'shegama machalim v'ayayin sheyichad lo yiyu mezivche meisim v'yayin nesicha. This is the Malbim saying this, that the food and the wine that's being given to him are coming mamish from the zivche meisim, the offerings that are being offered in the base of Avodah Zarah. You're not allowed to eat that. And in fact, says the Malbim, yesh meforshim shepirshu sham pas bag is pas hanikrav lavodas elilim. That the bread that they wanted to serve him is mamish bread that's served up in the base of Avodah Zarah. Vayivakesh misar sarisim basher chashav zot lavaral dat. So because Daniel thinks that they're trying to convert them, v'shamelach yakpid sheyochlu dafka mipata zeh. Daniel's thinking is, you know what? The king wants us to eat dafka from this bread. V'im yisarev yiyeh kimoreid. if he refuses, he's going to be seen as somebody who's rebelling. Echlit b'dato limsor nafsho al zeh kedin im niskavin lavir al das. Ladies and gentlemen, we know that you only have to give yourself up, your life. Somebody says, eat chazir, or I'm going to kill you. You're allowed to eat the chazir. And every law in the Torah you're allowed to do, except 3. Murder, gilu arayos. Someone says, sleep with your relative, or I'm going to kill you. Or murder that person, or I'm going to kill you. Or bow down to that idol, or I'm going to kill you. You have to submit your life. You have to be prepared to give up your life. So this is how the Malbim is learning here, that Daniel was prepared to give up his life because he thought they were trying to cause him to convert out of Judaism. He didn't give him any excuses. He said, "Beferish asher lo, I'm not going to eat it." That's how the Malbim is learning. Weiter. Vayitein Elohim et Daniel chesed l'rachamim l'fnei shar sarisim. Hashem made it that Daniel found favor in the eyes of this Sar Sarisim. Who does this sound like? We have another psukim like this.
Yosef.
Yosef. Right? When he was placed in that house, it says that Chaim v'chesed was found by the person that he was working for. So, Vayomer Sar Sarisim leDaniel, Yareani et Adoni HaMelech Asher Mina. I'm afraid from the king who appointed me. At Machalchevet Mishtechem, he gave me the job to feed you and to make you drink. Asher Lama Yiret Pnechem Zoafim Min HaYiladim Asher Kigilchem V'chiyavtem Rosh LaMelech. There's other kids here. You're going to stop eating. You're going to lose weight. You're going to look different than the other kids. And the king is going to cause my head to be cut off. There is a beautiful maral. We're coming to the end here. I thought I could finish the perk. I think we'll stop here. I think we've gotten a nice taste, but this is how we're going to do it. Pasuk by pasuk, all the maforshim comments. There's going to be a maral on this gzeira of the yain, etc., and a very nice narrative. Daniel has very nice narrative story about what's going to happen in Bavel with the Jews who have arrived there. Any comments, questions, ha'aros from what we learned tonight?
Ernie, was Daniel the Fahesia perhaps that everybody would know that he's eating the bread, or it was B'tzina?
No, it's B'tzina. But remember, Walter, I want to go through with that. If somebody tells you to eat chazir in public, then you're supposed to give up your life.
Yeah, that's exactly.
No, but he thought this was Avodah Zarah. He thought they were trying to convert him. So even B'tzina, you'd have to give up your life. The 3 cardinal averos, you have to give up your life even B'tzina.
I get it. Okay.
Ernie, what's interesting, the next posuk, Vayomer Daniel el HaMeltzar Asher Mina. So this is a source of the Hebrew word for waiter, meltzar, in a restaurant. No, it's not a joke.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, the word meltzar is the Hebrew word for waiter. He says, Vayomer Daniel el HaMeltzar Asher Mina al Daniel. He's going to speak. He's going to make an arrangement with the waiter to feed them only special food. And we'll see what happens. I don't want to give it away. We'll see what happens when they make the arrangements about the food. And what kind of food, and why they made that special food. And I think we'll go more we'll be able to continue more than the end of Perek Aleph. I think we'll go into Perek Beis next week as well. Daniel will go quicker, I think, than some of our other Sfarim, but we'll see. Any other questions, comments? Things that you see? Okay.